Welcome to Breakdown, May 1, 2024. JJ,
Yes, sir.
We're going to talk SEC Big Ten, specifically NFL Draft.
Yeah, it was quite the first round for the SEC and Big Ten. They tied with 13 players picked apiece.
Wow.
And there's only 32 teams, so that only left six other players. So you know who came in second?
Tell me who.
ACC. They had two.
They had to.
Well,
What was the thing that stood out most to you about this year's draft?
outside of the Shador Sanders fiasco.
Well, did that stand out most?
Oh yeah, absolutely, that stood out the most. Other than that, I mean, as a Bengals fan, I would say how poorly we did. We did very bad. Consensus that seems to be going around. Obviously, you can't grade a draft the next day. You have to like 5-10 years down the road, but it doesn't look like we're off to a great start. That's what I don't know. I just noticed like the Shador in my Bengals. What did you notice?
Definitely Shakur Sanders. His fall was his fall self-inflicted, or did he get pushed?
Yep, it was a combination of factors.
Before we go to the SEC Big Ten, tell me what were some of the combinations for Mr. Sanders?
I mean, there was the Giants came out and said that he refused to do the whiteboard test, and then there was another GM, anonymous GM, said that they thought he was intentionally trying to bomb the interview so he didn't have to go there. I think he thought he had more power than he did, and he overplayed his hand. I think that's what happened.
Okay. Did Cleveland get a steal? Cleveland got two quarterbacks in that draft.
Yeah, they did.
Gabriel from a Big Ten school, Oregon.
They did. Dylan Gabriel in the third.
And they got Sanders.
They didn't get a steal for Gabriel, I don't think. I don't think he's going to be anything in the NFL. I think they got a steal for them trading the second overall pick, Travis Hunter. It could have been Travis and Shador in Cleveland, but Cleveland they were made an offer they couldn't refuse. Okay. Jacksonville just had to go up and grab Travis Hunter, so okay. I do think that they got a steal with their first couple of picks. Yeah.
Okay. And you said the other thing was your Cincinnati Bengals, but any particular players from the SEC or the Big Ten that kind of stood out to you, or any schools?
Yeah, I mean, there were some surprises. I didn't expect Colston Loveland to go ahead of Penn State's, all-world tight end Tyler Warren. Everybody had Tyler Warren going ahead of him, but, the draft process is so crazy. There are people comparing Colston Loveland to Travis Kelce by the end of it, so, you never know.
They're both tight ends.
Yep.
Loveland went 10, and
Warren 14.
14.
Yeah.
So not a huge gap between the two.
Not a huge gap. Neither one can block worth a lick, but I guess Colston Loveland's slightly a bit ahead of Warren, but yeah.
What stood out for me was Ohio State.
Yeah, they almost got the record. They almost got 15 people drafted.
They got 13. Was it 14? 14. And Georgia was second with 13.
Yep.
How impressed were you by Ohio State?
I wasn't impressed. I mean, there were 3 Michigan players that went before one Ohio State player went.
Okay.
I mean, I wasn't super impressed by them. I mean, Michigan did the same thing the year before. Like, I don't know.
Okay. The other thing that stood out to me is that the SEC had their talent more spread out than the Big Ten. The Big Ten, 4 teams pretty much dominated the Big Ten.
Yeah. Well, they call it the Big 2, Little 10, and now you can call it the Big.
It was kind of the Big 2,
Little 8.
But it's more than 8 now.
Yeah.
But those two, the only other Big Ten team had more than 2 was, I think, Oregon and Ohio and Penn State each had 3.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm looking at Ohio State, and if I get too off track, just bring me back to the conversation.
Yeah.
Last year, going into the season, I think everybody said they had the best talent in college on the roster in college football. Would you agree or disagree?
I don't know. I can't really remember every team's roster, but by the end of the year, it looked like it.
Yeah, it was going in. I was just gonna say, is there any team going into this year's, uh, and it's still super, super, super early, this year's season, who you would say have superior roster than anyone else?
I mean, Penn State's bringing a lot of people back. I mean, Abdul Carter is gone, but outside of that, they're bringing a lot of people back. Drew Allard, a lot of people project him to be the number one pick. Texas is bringing a lot of people back. They didn't have. I mean, they lost Quinn Ewers and Matthew Golden, Isaiah Bond. They lost some skill players, but the backup quarterback might be better than the starter.
He got a very familiar name.
Yeah, Arch
Manning.
Arch Manning.
Like we getting some rain outside, JJ.
Yeah, that's how it
And
goes.
some wind. Man, Michigan, Ohio State dominated.
They did.
SEC, Georgia, pretty much dominated. If you add together the SEC and the Big Ten,
Yeah.
in the first round, you said earlier they had 26.
Mm-hmm.
In the second round, JJ, they had 21.
Yeah.
Altogether, JJ, they had what? 149 of the 257.
Well, they keep on gobbling up different other conferences. I mean, eventually it's just going to be those two conferences that are here left anyway. So
Potentially. That says a lot about their power. I mean, it's already obvious that the Big Ten SEC has the power in college football. But when you're getting players drafted like that, it just shows their power. What's the surprise player in the draft to you? Not Sanders, but any Big Ten team, SEC team, with a surprise player for you.
like, in what way? No, nobody was a surprise, I don't think. I mean, okay, Isaiah Bond didn't go get drafted, but I mean, there was some legal stuff with that, so I don't know what that was about. I thought he was going to slide based on production alone. Like, I thought he might go to the 4th or 5th round anyway, and a lot of people had him as a top one, a first round receiver.
Yeah.
But he didn't produce. Matthew Golden outproduced him, and he ran incredibly slow. Like he's a track guy, and he was supposed to be like this fastest guy, and by incredibly slow he ran a 4.4. But he went into it saying that he was going to run a 4.23. He was going to break Xavier Worthy's record from last year,
Okay.
and then it was like 0.2. Matthew Golden, his teammate ran like 4.29, and he ran a 4.4. So it was like it just wasn't.
The guy who went 30th in the pick from Kentucky ran a 4.27.
No, well, good for that cornerback.
Yeah.
Yeah, draft night. He was shaking everybody's hand. Everybody loved that guy.
Maxwell Harrison.
Yeah, he was pretty good. Kentucky wasn't.
From Kentucky. Went to
Yeah.
the Buffalo Bill. Originally from Detroit.
No, yeah, Kentucky does go into Detroit and recruits a lot. They have a guy, Deion Walker, the guy on their edge who was projected to be a first-round pick, but he had some bad tape. He was kind of loafed it this year, and he went in the 4th round, I think.
Okay.
Maybe to Buffalo, too.
Speaking of Buffalo, they got an Arkansas player, a linebacker, that I thought would have gone a little bit sooner than he went. And that was, what was his name? JJ, help me out. I'm drawing the blank here.
I can't help you out with them, but speaking of that, that reminded me of the biggest surprise in the draft, and that was the Lions trading 3 third-rounders to go up and get Isaac Tesla. That was a huge surprise. He had no production in college, but he was a workout warrior at the combine. It was a bold move. I think they had to jump in front of. There was like one other team that was looking at him, but they just had to have that. They just had to have Isaac Tesla, and he had a really good bowl game to end his career at Arkansas. But beyond that, the production never really matched the skill set. I thought he could run fast, but he struggled separating late. He struggled in routes, and sometimes when he was open, I wasn't sure if he was open. He ran the wrong route, and the quarterback. The quarterback obviously loved Armstrong way more than Tesla and I'm not. And there was some rumors that maybe Tesla wasn't where he was. The quarterback thought that he should be, and the options and stuff like that, and he was more mentally in sync with Armstrong. But either way, that was a big surprise to me.
I think Detroit got a good receiver in Tesla. He's from Detroit, from Michigan.
Yeah, he's from Holland. Yeah.
Yeah. Played college ball at Hillsdale.
Yeah.
Before going to Arkansas. Just tore it up at the combine.
Yeah, I mean he did, but combine warriors and all that. I mean, Arkansas had another wide receiver that tore it up in the combine who started off as a quarterback as well, who didn't go on to produce too much.
That's true.
But
that's true.
Matt Jones. Matt Jones for those who aren't uninitiated.
Wow. The domination of the SEC and the Big Ten is really not new. Even before they added teams, they were still dominating in the draft board.
SEC more than the Big Ten.
True. Were you surprised by Miro?
Going in the third round?
Yeah.
No. He got an invite to the draft, which made me think he was going to go in the first 2 rounds.
I thought he would have gone sooner myself.
But I mean, he had a bad season. He was 5th in the Heisman voting his junior year, but last year he had an up and down season. He lost Isaiah Bond and overly relied on the 17-year-old freshman Ryan Williams. Other than that, they didn't have much of an offense, and he was hurt for a lot of it. So I think some of that was a reason why he didn't perform up to his standard. But I think a lot of people like his character, like his strong arm, like how fast he was. I mean, he's not fast for a quarterback. He's fast for a running back.
Yes.
So
for a football player.
Yeah, he's fast, and I've heard all types of things like using him in a Taysom Hill, Cordell Stewart type of way until he learns the system and all that. I'm intrigued to see what they do with him, but
I think he's going to perform well. I like him a lot personally.
Yeah, it comes from a military background, very polite and very, does all the things. So,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we should expect this to continue with the SEC Big Ten domination, with the collective and the revenue sharing coming into play this coming year. What kind of impact will that have on the draft, the SEC Big Ten getting the players? Will they continue to get the players, or will it be a little bit more of a struggle?
I mean, it depends on what the people with the money want to do. BYU just decided that they're going all in on basketball. They have this guy that's a son of Provo, Mormon guy who was NBA assistant coach for a while. They think he's going to be like the next big head coach, and they want to prop him up. They're spending $7 million on AJ the Bonsa for next year, and then they're throwing a couple million at somebody else. I can't remember who they just got, but BYU. It depends on, because you have schools like BYU, you have schools like Stanford, you have schools. Right. I mean, Duke has a lot of money. They gave that Tulane transfer QB $3 million, which is the reason Nico went back to Tennessee. So I mean, it basically just depends on what boosters want to do. I mean, if boosters are deciding, hey, I want to have a good football season this year, let's go get a quarterback. Then
Okay. You mentioned Nico. Now, in our last episode, we talked about him quite a bit, and at the time we talked about it, he hadn't picked a new school. Now we know he's going to UCLA, and also his brother, who's a freshman at Arkansas, is going to UCLA. Arkansas is trying to get some of their NIL money back from Nico's brother for the time he spent there from January to April, the beginning of April, middle of April.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Madden Iamaleava is. I don't think he got nearly as much as Nico, but yeah, he did have a nice little bag he walked off with. But if they didn't protect themselves in the contract, then that's just going to be his money.
Well,
but going forward, they're going to protect themselves.
Just in general, if a player, I'm sure they have to sign something, say that, say I'm gonna make a hypothetical, saying they're gonna get $1,200,000 a year.
Yeah.
they don't get it all at once. They get it kind of like, I believe, on a monthly thing. So if he's there for 3 months, he would have gotten 10,000 each of those 10 months. That's $30,000.
Maybe he might got more.
That's true. That's true. I was just using hypothetical.
Yeah.
It seems like for someone who come there and only stay to the spring game, I'm not even sure. Well, Arkansas didn't have a spring game. Only stay there until through spring practice, and get 30,000. Man, I could do that, JJ.
Well, you have to get people to want you first.
Okay. So JJ, how would you rate the draft? This year's draft compared to past draft and maybe future draft?
I mean, I didn't really watch much of it. I watched like the Bengals, obviously. I watched the first, the pick after Cam Ward. I didn't watch the first pick because everybody knew it was Cam Ward. But the NFL mandates that they have to use all of that time, so yeah, it's just a waste of time. But I liked it. I mean, I've never seen anybody trade up for a non-quarterback like that. Jacksonville came up and got a non-quarterback, and they paid a pretty penny to do so. And they already said they're going to utilize him the way that everybody wants. He's going to be a wide receiver first, but he's also going to play corner. So
let me ask you, JJ, who got the best player? Who came out? No, not who got the best player, but who came out ahead in the draft among the first two players drafted? Did Tennessee Titans taking Cam Ward, or did the Jacksonville Jaguars taking Travis Hunter?
Tennessee Titans. I mean, a wide receiver plus a cornerback isn't as valuable as a franchise quarterback. So even though that's two different positions or whatever, it's not as valuable as a quarterback. So
okay. Your point.
What say you?
Before you explain it like that, I was gonna say Jacksonville came out better because I can see Hunter making 4 more Pro Bowls than Cam Ward.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter if I don't know how many Pro Bowls Eli Manning won. He won 2 championships. Okay. I think.
Can I say one of those championships they won? Their regular season, wasn't they something like 500 or one game over 500?
Yeah, 9-7. But the NFL
2 games over. My bad.
I mean, the NFL had the 16-game season that year, so
okay.
And they had their defensive line wasn't healthy the entire year, so you just got to be healthy when it's time to go, and you never know.
Before we get out of here, JJ, unless there's more that you want to talk about, and I got 2 things. I'm gonna say the 2 steals of the draft, Sanders and Tesla, and now that I mentioned Sanders, the Arkansas linebacker that I was thinking of earlier, his name was Sanders as well. But as far as those 2 steals, Tesla and Sanders, I think they're the steal of the drafts. I think the city of Green Bay won the draft because they looked very impressive at the draft. And
they said the same thing about Detroit last year. They said the same thing about Pittsburgh the year before. But I don't know if anyone's going to beat Tennessee. I think Tennessee has the belt right now.
Okay. JJ, who's the first pick of next year's draft?
Not Arch Manning. I'm going to say there's a few guys that you always hear about. You hear about Arch Manning, but then you also hear that they have a plan to keep him 4 years, so he's not going to come out this year. You see some Norris Sellers.
It's South Carolina.
South Carolina. You see some Garrett Nussmeier from at LSU. Okay. You see some Drew Aller at Penn State.
What about Miami's quarterback?
Carson Beck?
Yes, sir.
Every time you hear about anything about Carson Beck in the news, it's just about his ex-girlfriend talking about how no one likes it. I don't know.
I haven't heard anything about his ex-girlfriend.
Haley Cavender, one of the Cavender twins? Oh, man, they're big. They're more famous than he is. Trust me.
Is his ex-girlfriend as noteworthy as Bill Belichick's current girlfriend?
In some ways, yeah. I mean, she's not as maniacally. From an aesthetic standpoint, she's better, but yeah, no. She's not as interesting that way.
Okay, JJ. The draft, it is what it is. I think the SEC and Big Ten did super well. Anything you want to pick up on or take off or talk on further regarding the draft?
I have nothing more to say.
Let's call it a game.
Let's do it.
It's a wrap. W. P.S. Full pick suite.